Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. Today I've got some terrifying subscriber encounters to share with you. Before we get into these encounters, a couple links I'd like to share. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch to help this channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are all in the description below. I also have a second channel for creepypastas, fanfiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that really don't fit on this channel. Now, if that's anything that you're into, follow that link and give those stories a listen. You may just like what you hear. I also started a GoFundMe page a little while back to help raise some money for urbex, cryptid hunting, and ghost hunting equipment. If that's anything that you're willing to help with, that link is also in the description below. Now I've definitely taken enough of your time. Let's get on with these subscriber Dogman encounters. Shall we? Today's first subscriber Dogman encounter. Back in 2005, I had agreed to house sit for a week for my friend who lived in the small town of Chimayo, New Mexico. I lived in Santa Fe, so this was going to be a fun week for myself and my dogs as they could run and play with her dogs on her beautiful 5 acres of land. I still had to commute to Santa Fe for my job, but that wasn't a problem for me. My experience happened on a Wednesday, fall, early morning on my way to work. In order to get to work, I had to leave relatively early. It wasn't really dark and the sun had not yet set in, but I had a pretty good visual of my surroundings. I was driving my truck down the side road from her house to meet the main paved road. As I was approaching the stop sign, I looked across the main road at this large pasture. I immediately noticed a pack of dogs, and in the middle of them was this ginormous dog. They were eating on something. They didn't notice me whatsoever, and suddenly I felt this dread come over me. I made sure my truck doors were locked and I couldn't move. That's when I noticed the hunched shoulders on this beast and how scary and ugly it was. It resembled a hyena, but not quite, because the head looked like a wolf. It was on all fours. Driving the long drive to Santa Fe, I tried to understand what I saw. I finally convinced myself that what I saw was an inbred dog. When I got to work, I wasn't my usual chatty self. When approached by several coworkers and asked if something was wrong, I told them what I saw and how scared it made me feel. I was just met with laughter and pats on the back. Again, I convinced myself I was making a big deal over this freak of nature. When I arrived back to my friend's house after work, it was already dark. I immediately felt this terrible dread, remembering that ugly beast that I had seen. Luckily, my dogs, as well as her dogs, greeted me. I got out of my truck and made a mad dash to her house. I closed all the curtains and made sure all the doors were locked. The next morning, on my way to work, I was approaching my truck and I felt an overpowering sense of dread again. Her house was next to an irrigation ditch, as most of this town was riddled with irrigation ditches, as this town does a lot of farming. It hit me that this beast could come in from the irrigation ditch and easily snatch me up, me being a small female. I got back into the house, got all the dogs back in, and called sick. I waited until later that morning and got my dogs and her dogs out of there and headed back to Santa Fe to my place. When my friend returned, she was really put off with me, even to the point of shaming me when I told her why I left her place and I couldn't bring her dogs back. I understood her feelings, as she didn't see this monster. My terrible experience with the Dogman left our friendship fractured. Several months later, I received a call from her. She told me that she was moving back to California to be close to her family. I was shocked because she really loved that place in Chimayo, New Mexico. She told me that she had encountered the Dogman in the irrigation next to her home. Today's second subscriber Dogman encounter. The following happened when I was 12 years old. I'll describe the layout of the area where I lived back then. My street was located on the north side of downtown. It was a mile-long road at a dead end. Behind the houses on one side were more houses, but behind the houses on my side of the street was a patch of woods that stretched the length of our street and further beyond the dead end to the bayou that ran behind our neighborhood. We used to build clubhouses and play all the time in those woods. It was a sunny Sunday morning in Houston, Texas, about 1988, and I was riding home from church in the back seat of my mom's car. We had turned onto my street, and as we passed by one of the lots with the house not built there, I saw my friends hanging out near the wood line. I got home, changed out of my church clothes, grabbed my bike, and rode down to where I had seen them. I got within sight of them and observed them entering the woods. I pedaled up to where several of them left their bikes, got off my bike, and ran full speed in order to catch up to them. I was no further than 10 feet into the woods when I hear the loudest, most guttural growl I'd ever heard. I stopped dead in my tracks. This sound made my chest cavity vibrate, and I have to admit that feeling scared me more than the sound did. Without moving my head, I darted my eyes from right to left and back again, scanning the woods, but I didn't see anything. I probably stood there for 10 seconds, processing what I heard before I turned tail, jumped back on my bike, and was out of there. I never stepped foot in those woods again, and we moved shortly after. Thinking back, the sound this thing made, its lung capacity must have been huge. I don't understand how something capable of making a sound like that could roam the fourth largest city in the country undetected. But Houston is known as the Bayou City. We have a network of them, just like the one that ran behind my neighborhood, that run like veins throughout the city. They could theoretically come and go as they please. That's not exactly a comforting thought. I thank my lucky stars the whole time I didn't lay eyes on that creature. Today's third subscriber Dogman encounter. Hello, Mr. Nadolny. 6 months ago, I had no idea that Dogman ever existed. Because of what I saw on a clear day, I started an internet search. It fell on skinwalkers. I didn't know what they were either. Finally on Dogman, and my heart started racing. I'm 60 years old, and I've experienced many things in my life like everybody else. First thing that occurred to me, the bus station scream. I lived in Sherbrooke, Quebec, Canada since 2009. Previously, I lived in much larger cities. I like the city here, surrounded by wooded areas. The city of Sherbrooke sits at the junction of two rivers, the St. Francis and the Magog River. You will notice that Dogman loves creeks and rivers. I realized that after reading a book by Linda Godfrey. Since we can see far away the U.S. mountains from the road near my boyfriend's apartment facility, I understand now these creatures love creeks, small rivers, to travel around or in order to hide, drink, and hunt quietly and undercover. I said undercover because they do in suburban areas like ours as well. One night between 9 and 10 o'clock at night, I was the last remaining person waiting for my transfer bus at the Sigep bus and transfer station. I don't remember the year exactly. Sorry about that. It was a cold night of fall. As I said, I was alone by myself waiting for my transfer in my winter coat. Suddenly, up in the distance, I heard a powerful, awful, unknown animal scream like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park movies. I froze right there and then. It was far away in the east area of the city, probably coming from the woods. I got scared and decided to wait inside the waiting area. What the hell was that? I had no idea up until now. Since that day, I was afraid to wait for the bus alone at the Sigep station. Second occurrence, 2018. I don't remember the date. I have to explain that I live on a boulevard called Levagris into an apartment building. My boyfriend lives on the same boulevard but further down, about 3 stops from me. At night, both of us can take the same bus to go home. He drops off the bus first before me. 3 stops later, I drop off the bus to go home. My apartment building is circled by houses, a soccer field, a fireman's station, and other apartment buildings as well. Not too scary. My boyfriend lives in a complex facility made of 2 twin buildings for handicapped persons, from the wheelchaired person to the other kind of impaired people. Back when I met my boyfriend 3 years ago, there was only 1 building. They built and opened a second one, a twin type of the first one, but just downhill about 100 yards away. I never go down there because I just don't like the woods behind these buildings, especially behind the second one. Even in the daytime, which is more downhill and it's dark and low from the street. I don't like the feeling at all. It gives me the creeps. I always feel like I'm being watched. Just facing the complex on the other side of the boulevard is a East Industry Center. And there's only companies there. Only those who work night shift are there at night. All these shops are cut into the wooded area. Little creeks of water, etc. Those are full of white-tailed deer, fox, raccoon, squirrels, and country mice, birds, etc. Kind of cute. Sometimes, when we watch television late at night, we see a group of deer eating grass and crossing the boulevard to the industrial center for the other nearby wooded area. I used to wait for the bus late at night. The bus stopped facing the apartment of my boyfriend's, but on the other side of the boulevard. Never alone, my boyfriend waited with me, equipped with a flashlight, in order to flash the bus driver to pick me up. It was dark when the bus ride showed up on a dark curve, and he just couldn't see anybody waiting at the stop. I'm scared most of the time and never wait alone at night. There's a big telephone pole line at this bus stop. This is important for the rest of the story as well. Because on top of that, it happened in the daytime, not nighttime. One night I decided to sleep over at my boyfriend's, who would wake up early the next morning. He would take me back to the bus stop and I'd go home. I wasn't scared during the daytime. So my boyfriend left that morning and I slept in a little while more. Later I got up and checked the bus pamphlet, locked the door with my key, and headed to the bus station on the other side of the boulevard. When you wait for the bus stop, you look down at your left and you see it coming. There's woods, a company, woods again, yada yada. When you look to your right, same thing, but going up the hill. That day, right beside the telephone pole, I looked at my right. Then I saw something. I put myself further out of the telephone pole and looked again. What is that? No cars, no trucks. Nobody but this enormous black mass. Just a jet black mask that was there on the other side of the road, like an ink blast on the picture. It wasn't moving, lasted about 20 seconds, and was on the same side of the street as me. About 50 yards away now. My mind is racing. What is this? I thought it was a lost cow. Nope, not a cow, not a bear, not a bike, not a car, not a motorcycle, not a person. Why would a jet black thing be here? Not a biker, not a bicycle, not anyone, not even a group of deer. Deers aren't jet black. What the hell is this? Looks like something half-seated by the road like an animal. Definitely not a bear. No bear looks like that. There's no bear anyway here. Not a dog. Way too massive. My head is trying to apply a right label to this thing. It looks like it was frozen right there. I turn my head left to see if the bus is coming from downhill. Yes, it's coming. Turn my head right again. The thing wasn't there anymore. 2 seconds, it was gone. Took my bus, looked out the windows, nothing. The aftermath. Wasn't scared, didn't know nothing at the time about a Dogman. Searched for black things in the road. Fell on Dogman, jet black Dogman. Froze. All my hair stood up since that day. Scared as hell to go outside after dusk, after that sighting especially. Ordered and read Linda Godfrey's book, Real Werewolf Man, True Encounters in Modern America. The third part of the aftermath realized that this thing was smart because it was only in view for a short time, only to cross the boulevard. It wasn't seen or heard by any cars. Fourth, froze when it realized I was on the same side of the road with it, right by the telephone pole. I wonder if it thought I was alone. 5, took the moment that I looked left to disappear, and very fast. No idea if it stayed on the same side of the road or crossed. 6, couldn't believe its attitude, pretending to be frozen in order to mix me up. Very clever. 7, I told my boyfriend never to walk home after dusk. He doesn't. I thank him for listening to me. I told him also not to do any landscaping or take the garbage out, only in the morning, never at night. 8, I didn't know what the Dogman was before this. 9, I'm very stressed out now. I have nightmares and I don't sleep as well anymore. 10, will never be the same again. I became obsessed, scared like hell to go outside at my boyfriend's house. 11, still don't know what it was, but I'm pretty sure it was a Dogman. 12, took me 2 months to go back to my boyfriend's house, night or day. 13, don't want a house or an apartment near a wooded area or in the country, ever. Told my daughter not to buy a house in the country either. Don't want my grandchildren to go camping, ever. This was my encounter. Well, there you have it, guys. 3 Dogman encounters from subscribers. Let's do a little recap. The first encounter, the Dogman, was a hyena type. One of my kind of favorite, kind of not, one that I don't ever want to run into, but one that I think is the coolest, because I like hyenas. I think they are a very interesting creature. Scary, but interesting. Also, the intelligence of the Dogman for using an irrigation ditch to not be seen. Very, very intelligent creatures. Just like when the second encounter comes up and it's using the bayous of Houston to travel around and hunt, drink water, etc. Just a very intelligent, scary creature. The last encounter was a little hard to read because I'm imagining French Canadian would be the woman's main language, being from Quebec. So it was a little hard to read. I hope you guys got the gist of it. I did. The word obsessed fell from that one. I especially enjoyed how they made a list of things that occurred after seeing the Dogman. Obviously, this person did it this way to comfort their brain, or just part of their obsession. I'm not really sure. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed these encounters. I'm working on so many more, and I want to thank everybody for all of your support. Thank you, guys, and with that, I bid you farewell.